I'm Robyn Smith in conversation with Cameron Dugmore. Now, he's the leader of the official opposition in the provincial legislature in the Western Cape in South Africa. Cameron, thanks very much for your time today. Let's start off by painting a picture of South Africa-China relations as they stand.
Thank you very much. I think there's a very special relationship between South Africa and China, one that has particularly strengthened since democracy in 1994. So the relationship, particularly after democracy, has got stronger. And I think that relationship is based on, a number of levels. It's about trade, it's about tourism, it's about cultural exchange. And so the relationships remain strong. And I think also being part of the BRICS partnership, where our country, working with other African countries, has a very strong relationship with Brazil, China, and Russia. And I think that adds to the partnership and the relationship, which has become stronger over the years. So I would describe our relationship as very good.
So the Beijing Winter Olympics is taking place early next year, and our country, South Africa, is sending a team. Do you have a message for the Chinese as they prepare to host this incredibly huge event?
Well, I think our country and our athletes are incredibly excited about being part of the Winter Olympics, and it's going to be an absolutely incredible experience. And I think China is more than well equipped and prepared to host those Olympics. And, we appeal to the people of China to put on the best show possible. We know they will do that. And I am convinced that it will be a successful, well-organized, well-run Olympics, as the Chinese people have shown us before in terms of their incredible levels of organization. And our country and our athletes are really looking forward to the Winter Olympics.
The United States is hosting a Global Democracy Summit in December, coming up very soon. Only 16 of the 54 African countries have been invited to that summit. Now, some have argued that this in itself is sort of undemocratic. What's your view of that?
I think it's really important for countries of the G7 who are interacting with the African continent not to be selective in regard to how they invite. For instance, the African continent is divided up into different blocks, the SADC region and different other regions. So if one is not able to invite all countries in Africa, you need to have a fair representation of countries being sent from the different economic blocks on the continent. I think that's the way. Otherwise, one gets perceived of favoring certain countries and not other countries. And our view is that can create disunity on the African continent. So I think it's absolutely important that there's a democratic and a fair representation of the continent at any summit that is being organized globally. Otherwise, it simply has the potential to deepen divisions, which is something that we do not support. And we believe that the representation should be reviewed to make sure that it is fair and equitable, spread amongst the different economic communities on the African continent.
And Cameron, how would you rate America's democracy?
Well, I think it's a very interesting question, because for me, democracies need to be judged at a number of different levels. Are they serving their people? Are they responsive? Are the conditions? Often when we talk about rights, we talk about democratic rights, we also talk about socio-economic rights. And when one looks at the levels of inequality in a country such as the United States, and when one also looks at the democratic process itself, one of the concerns I have is that it appears that unless you are able to raise huge amounts of money, you cannot even fairly participate in the democratic process itself. And for me, democracy is not just about elections every 5 years or every 2.5 years. It's about the ongoing participation of people in matters that affect their lives. So I think our democracy should be judged in terms of whether they are responsive, whether they're actually dealing with the socio-economic needs of the people. And my particular perspective is that the American democracy is one where those with the resources, with money, are able to determine the future of their country, as opposed to actually getting the voices of people on the ground being heard and the key issues being addressed. Like American democracy has essentially privatized healthcare way out of the reach of ordinary people. And I think that compared to other democracies is a real failure of the United States. You take their neighboring countries such as Canada, you even look at other Western countries like the United Kingdom. They've done far better in regard to access to healthcare. Countries like China value the health of their citizens and have made sure that the state provides access to healthcare. So I think the American democracy has become a democracy for the elite and has not become a democracy which serves the majority of its people.
Cameron, thanks very much for your time and for speaking to us today. That was Cameron Dugmore, the leader of the official opposition in the provincial legislature in the Western Cape in South Africa. And that is a wrap from us. Take care.